Hello, world. Let's see. My head's getting cut off. This broadcast might not start with a bang. I just realized I'm not in the right tuning, so I'm not just going to start with a dawdle. This is live. Live, whatever it is. Live streaming. I can see your comments. If anybody has any comments, we're live. We should be live on X, YouTube, and Facebook in whatever capacity that actually means, wherever we are on the internet. I seem to be developing a double chin, even more than usual. I'm scrolling. Okay. Now I think I'm ready. Ready to stop dawdling. Okay. So, this is little solstice broadcast. It's really quite coincidental that yesterday was the solstice, although I could wax poetic about solstices and why we can have a renewal of humanity after the waning of the light and all this kind of stuff. But in the midst of the genocide happening, it all just seems pretty dopey. But it seems dopey anyway. I'm not much for rituals of that sort. Very modern human, I guess. Atheist or something. Never learned the fun of religion. Even paganism has eluded me, despite some of my best friends being pagan. I can't remember why aren't you supposed to say some of your best friends or whatever? I can't remember. That makes you anti-Semite or something. But I'm already an anti-Semite. Look at my t-shirt. I must be an anti-Semite. So Santa should be a pirate. If Santa is got any clout in the modern age, then he would be a pirate. So I wrote this song for Pirate Santa, long time ago, long before I ever met Al Glatkowski and discovered that there actually is a Pirate Santa. I'll do a song about Al too. I gotta do that. But we'll start with the only appropriate holiday material I have for this broadcast. Let's see. Here we go. It doesn't fit on the headphones. It's too small anyway. Santa and his elves worked on the North Pole, making toys to take the kids around the earth. They worked hard to try to fill the orders. Then they flew the toys from Portland out to Perth. Guitar seems a bit quiet. Then the whole economy collapsed. Everyone was getting fired. Santa said it's time to close the workshop. Santa said more urgent measures are required. Santa saddled up his reindeer, and with the skull and bones unfurled, Santa went and joined the pirates for the good of the children of the world. Santa flew down to the Gulf of Aden, waited for a good ship to attack. The crew gave up without a fight. Santa put the toys all in a sack. Santa headed to the Sudan, gave out everything, and then he flew back to the Gulf of Aden to go and do it all again. Santa saddled up his reindeer, and with the skull and bones unfurled, Santa went and joined the pirates for the good of the children of the world. The world's navies tried to catch him, but Santa always got away. Like Robin Hood with superpowers, there upon his flying sleigh. Eventually they got him in a helicopter raid, but not before he inspired many more to take up the pirate trade. Santa saddled up his reindeer, and with the skull and bones unfurled, Santa went and joined the pirates for the good of the children of the world. Santa saddled up his reindeer, and with the skull and bones unfurled, Santa went and joined the pirates for the good of the children of the world. Well, this hat didn't fall off. Let's see here. Well, it is, hello, Mark. Mark in, oh, wait, what part of the world are you in? I can't remember. Mark. There's a Mark in London and a Mark in Oklahoma. All right, which one are you? There's other Marks out there, but those are the two I'm thinking of. My geographically based memory, it gets really warped when I try to do online events. Hopefully everything sounds okay out there. We can adjust sounds. We can't do much about the music, but Nova Scotia, that's good. Oh, we'll do a song about Nova Scotia. You have lyrics for me, somebody? Yeah, send them on. I'll sing them if they're exceptionally good. Then I might consider trying to turn them into a song. Although usually I try to hawk my lyrics off to other people so they can turn them into songs, because I run out of ideas before. I run out of music before I run out of lyrics generally. And did a great album with Jane Reynolds with Virtual Bird during the pandemic, where I sent her all the lyrics and then she turned it all into wonderful songs. But yeah, haven't done it the other way too much. What was I going to say? So I was going to mention to anybody who's interested that I have a new series of podcasts that I've been working at for the past couple months, which is kind of why I haven't been doing much online. If anybody noticed, which they probably didn't, because there's always things happening online when I disappear. It's kind of not really noticeable, I think. But I've been working most of my spare time for the past couple months. I've been working on a new series of podcasts, starting with writing all the parts I'm speaking, and then lately I've been putting it all together into podcasts and recording stuff, and now the first bunch of episodes are up there on the web for paid subscribers, and the first one is up for anybody, and others will be up for anybody too. It'll all be free eventually, but I'm doing that thing where the paid subscribers get access to all kinds of stuff before everybody else does, and that's just to encourage people to join my community supported art program, because that's how I survive. So nice to give people a little bit of incentive now and then. If you go to davidrovics.com/subscribe, you can join and have access to what so far the first 11 episodes, about 10 hours worth of material. of the new A History of the World According to David Rovick's podcast series. And you can find it at davidrovics.com/history, the first episode, or you can find it on my podcast feed if you subscribe to This Week with David Rovics on any podcast platform, or I also posted it on SoundCloud and Patreon and Substack. But the first episode, that is. So if you're doing a lot of driving over the holidays and you need a whole bunch of stuff to listen to, it's out there. Will keep you occupied for a very long drive, and you can entertain the parents with radical stuff to argue about. But maybe not, because they'll just be moved by the music so much that they'll all become radicals by listening. It'll be the best kind of family get-together you ever had, actually. I have this song up for some reason, but it's basically because I'm very excited to announce that in the course of the spring tour, Kamala and I, or at least me, I'm not sure where she'll be with me in England and Scotland, and maybe elsewhere. We'll see if she comes to Mexico, but I'll be in Mexico for St. Patrick's Day at the San Patricio Distilleria, singing this song, and maybe others too. I don't know what else people in Mexico know of my music, but they know this one. Some people know this one. They'll be there somewhere near Mexico City. You can look it up, the San Patricio Distilleria, for St. Patrick's Day. If you're looking for somewhere to go, something to do, go to Mexico for St. Patrick's Day. My name is John Riley. I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. It was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. So in the midst of these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin Gobra, bright with the harp and the shamrock and Libertad para Republica. Just 50 years after Wolfetone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. But from Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside in the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. Yeah, so we'll be. I'm here in Portland, Oregon, until the middle of March, and then in the middle of March, I will be heading down to Mexico to sing at the San Patricio Distilleria, and then also and make people laugh with my horrible Spanish and complete inability to even say the name of the distillery that I'm playing at, and hopefully they like me anyway. And then after St. Patrick's Day in Mexico, the plan will be to maybe do gigs in California. If there's anybody in California who want to organize something, especially Southern California. And then I'll go, I don't know, to England and meet up with Kamala, unless she's with me already. And then we'll be touring around late March. We got gigs booked in Portsmouth and London so far, and nowhere else. But if anybody in England or Scotland, Wales, or Ireland would like to organize something, I would love to hear from you. That's the plan for the spring. And then in July, we'll be touring in Australia. I'd love to hear from people from Australia as well. But it's all wide open. Nothing's planned yet other than St. Patrick's Day in Mexico and 2 gigs in Southern England at the end of March. That's what's booked so far. And so, yeah. Love to hear from folks about that. And now, what else? So now I'll sing some more songs, because that's what I'm usually doing when I get onto these broadcasts. There's been some pretty exciting news lately. I mean, talking about the streets of Manhattan. Let's see, where is it? So, also, there's an amazing songwriter who you can find on Instagram if you look for Instagram Reels. He's on Instagram, posts there. Thomas Francis, he's from Chicago, and he wrote a great song about the recent events in Manhattan, and he writes a lot of great songs about what's happening in the world. He's brilliant. And just equally brilliant. There's basically, I would just like to mention that there's 3 absolutely brilliant performers, songwriters out there that I have discovered in the past, I don't know how many months, fairly recently. One is Thomas Francis from Chicago, absolutely phenomenal. Don't remember how I discovered him. Somebody must have told me about him somehow, somewhere, and I'll forget these things. But he's amazing. He's frequently compared to Bob Dylan, I think largely because of his tone, but also because of his lyrics. I mean, anybody who's into Dylan, it's also an obvious reference because people know Dylan, and so they're going to make comparisons to Dylan when somebody is a great songwriter and has a bit of a raspy voice. It's an inevitable thing, and he plays old-fashioned, old style picking on old guitar. They all like to play old guitars these days. All the young, brilliant young songwriters I'm running across online. Another is Carsey Blanton. I think she might live in Florida. I don't know where she lives, but she's a fantastic songwriter doing great satirical stuff. Really funny, really great, and touring quite a bit as well. Which Thomas Francis is not doing, as far as I can tell. He's largely just putting out great songs on Instagram and working construction in Chicago. But Carsey Blanton does a lot of touring, and she's a phenomenal songwriter. And then the other one that everybody's telling me about. Every day I get some new person telling me, oh, have you heard Jesse Wells? Yes, Jesse Wells. That's another one. Fantastic. He's got 500,000 followers on Spotify and a major record deal. And the record company is very actively seems to be promoting everything he puts out, as far as I can tell. Otherwise, I'm not sure how anything gets, hundreds of thousands of views every day when you put out a new song. But he is absolutely brilliant, and I only mention the major record deal because it can be discouraging for a lot of the artists who are also brilliant that aren't getting that kind of attention. And of course, I'm not talking about myself. That would be incredibly crass. But there are others of the three that I've just mentioned that get a lot less attention than Jesse Wells does. And they're all equally brilliant. Not that it's a competition, but it's, it feels like... I know what it would feel like to be getting the kind of response that Thomas Francis gets, because that's much more along the lines of the kind of response I get to songs I put out. A few hundred, people like it, and as opposed to 500,000 for Jesse Wells. But he is brilliant in any case, and I wish him all the best. And I bet his record company wouldn't want to sign me anyway, because I write songs about certain subjects that everybody else avoids, which might be related to my T-shirt. It's a good career-killing move. I can promise you that. So we'll sing songs about that too. But first, I'll do this song about the recent news. Company got big, began to grow, till it ran the show. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year made by all the suits who steer towards maximizing profits till they were the biggest on the planet by buying up all the competition, by buying off all the politicians, by delaying what they then deny, by defending their actions as they watch us die. Well, there are so many ways to kill a CEO. They lobbied to make sure the ACA wouldn't get in the way of profiting from our basic needs, making sure we feed their corporate greed. They got bigger and bigger until even the DOJ said they should chill on trying to monopolize everything just for more ka-ching, ka-ching, by delaying what they then deny, by defending their actions as they watch us die. Well, there are so many ways to kill a CEO. How many lives have been lost so they could keep down the cost of running a business on our backs while raking in the stacks and stacks of profits that they stole from us while we're trying to live here under the bus. This kind of thing can't go on forever. You don't have to be so clever by delaying what they then deny, by defending their actions as they watch us die. Well, there are so many ways to kill a CEO. Company got big and began to grow till it ran the show. Thank you. Somebody says they don't know how I write such good words in so little time. I really love compliments like that. And I would say exactly the same thing, incidentally, about Jesse Wells, Carsey Blanton, and Thomas Francis. They're all incredibly prolific. I love seeing that. They clearly are spending a heck of a lot of their time writing, and writing fantastic material. So nice to see. And I would encourage all of them to write about the genocide. And I'm not criticizing them for not writing about it. I'm just saying I would encourage them. I'd love to hear what they would have to say about it. Not just a comment now and then, but I mean a song. Everything is burning. As I watch the video, she crawls out of the ruins, venturing to go out in search of water, the final human need, although the consequences are almost guaranteed as she goes out in the open beneath the killer drones, which aims its sights on her, then shreds her to the bones, then waits for any people who might be fool enough to try come to fetch her body beneath the smoke-filled sky. 2 million people behind the ghetto wall wait for 2-ton bombs to fall, to crush and burn the schools and tents where your whole extended family went. Scores more murdered with each passing day, with so many more on the edge of being taken away, surrounded by tanks that fire at will, and the rest of the world stands by still, completely surrounded with no food getting in, ghost-like faces, impossibly thin, kids that look like babies born, thirsty, starving, and forlorn. Men are being taken to who knows where, the elderly, the babies, the wounded in chairs, with donkey carts and wagons south on cue, as the drones above the rubble ordered them to do. They're carrying out the general's plan, which means kill all the kids that you possibly can. Anyone moving, soldiers take aim. Who they are doesn't matter. They're all the same. Make no distinctions, orders decree. Killing them all is just how it must be. And right now in New Jersey, you can buy shares in the resort Jared Kushner plans to build there. Oh, somebody says Jordan Smart did a good song about the CEO. I got to look up Jordan Smart. Have not heard of him. Somebody else says so few recipes for CEO. We need more recipes. And also you can find some of those recipes by going to the Eat the Rich festival in Trondheim, Norway, which is every August. Wonderful festival. If you're going to Norway, August is a great time to go to Norway. I mean, any time is, but August, people tend to like the weather. Let's see. So, let's see here. Other news in my little life. I don't know when the last time I did a broadcast was. If it was recently, I don't remember. So it must not have been. I think it was quite a while ago. But in any case, there have been various developments on the front of the what I can only call the campaign against me that is coming at me from various directions. I do not mean to imply that this is anything unique. I'm sure this is happening to lots of other people. But the most recent developments have been that, first of all, in case I didn't mention this to you before, I cannot use the invite function on Facebook. Inviting people to events does not work for me on any event, whether it's, for my event or anybody else's. That is a disabled function for me, the invite function. They never told me it was being disabled, but basically one of the very few things that's left about Facebook that's actually useful is not usable by me. So whether I start an event or somebody else makes an event, I can't invite anybody to it. It doesn't work. So that's one thing that has become very clear, that it is disabled. It is not a technical glitch or anything like that. It is a disabled function. And another thing that happened fairly recently was Notes from a Holocaust was taken down from Spotify. The first album I put out in 2024 about the Gaza genocide, called Notes from a Holocaust, the first of 4 albums I put out in 2024, and the one that got by far the most views or listens or whatever, it's just been erased from history, from existence. Spotify, in their end of the year wrap up, told me that my most popular album of 2024 was the second one I put out, called Bearing Witness. Also, I think a damn fine piece of work, a collaboration with me and Chet Gardner, as was Notes from a Holocaust and the other 2 most recent albums, studio albums anyway, the ones I didn't do live with Kamala. Those are also 2 recent albums that have gotten no traction at all on Spotify. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe the live albums just don't get anywhere there. I don't know. But others have in the past, but who knows? In any case, Notes from a Holocaust was taken down. And I believe the reason is because it breaks British law. So I actually really don't know, if we're going to get arrested for singing this song in Britain in the spring. If a cop comes to the gig, it's entirely possible because Section 12 of the UK Terrorism Act, for which our friend Sarah Wilkinson and various other influencers, as they call her, I guess anybody with a few 100,000 followers on X is called an influencer. Everybody else, there's others who are getting arrested on this law who are journalists, but they call them journalists rather than influencers, wherever the line is. But these folks are guilty of posting on social media or other places and saying things that are interpreted to be praising proscribed organizations. And if you look on the various, shadow versions of Spotify that are out there on the web, if you search for Notes from a Holocaust, you can, in some corner of Spotify on the web, you can find the album listed there, and it'll say, like, the songs are disabled and you can't play them, but it'll have a list of the songs except for Song for the Houthi Army, where there's no title present. So it's just been completely removed, including the title. And I believe that's because it violates Section 12 of the UK Terrorism Act of 2000. Half the world trade passes by here. Half the world trade passes by here. So much of it goes through Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, in the port of Gaza, no ships can arrive and not a boat can leave. While every day hundreds are dying beneath the rain of missiles fired from the air. Millions of starving Palestinians on the run and being slaughtered everywhere. No safe place in the Gaza Strip. No armies coming to defend. While all over the planet, people are asking, when will this savage bombing end? How many more thousands of children can be killed while we stand by? How can we just live our lives while we watch the babies die? Shukran jazilan to the Houthi army, standing for the conscience of us all. When they say no business as usual, while the bombs continue to fall. For a country that doesn't have an air force, they're painting black, red, green, and white on the helicopters they use to board the ships to show their cause is right. The president says this terrorism must stop right away, to which the Houthis respond, yes, that's exactly what we are trying to say. Shukran jazilan to the Houthi army, standing for the conscience of us all, when they say no business as usual, while the bombs continue to fall. Ships are going all the way around Africa to avoid the Houthi net. If Israel wants trading partners, now they might be just a little harder to get. We can blockade ports all over, north, south, east, and west. But the Houthi army are the ones who are no doubt blocking the traffic the best. Shukran jazilan to the Houthi army, standing for the conscience of us all, when they say no business as usual, while the bombs continue to fall. So somebody's asking if one of the live albums has Song for the Houthi Army on it and it hasn't been taken down. And yes, that is correct. It's but I believe it's what happened on with Spotify and what happens with other platforms is people complain about a particular track, on a particular album, and then Spotify investigates and decides whether it's breaking the law, but they don't necessarily somehow ban the other tracks. I have no idea how it works. I'm just guessing because Spotify has not explained anything. They don't explain their actions. They just it's just a completely arbitrary, faceless authority that does whatever they do with no explanation or even notification. I was not even notified that the album was being taken down. So yeah. Hey, Laurel. Laurel in California. So one of the things that I've really enjoyed about doing this history project, which again, there's a new series of podcasts that I've got out now called A History of the World According to David Rovics. And it includes a lot of stuff from the past several hundred years with a bigger focus on the past 50 years, particularly the past 20. But one of the things I find that is so important to highlight about history is how people can behave in such different ways under the same kinds of circumstances. People are capable of such wildly different sorts of actions, and it runs the whole gamut between very hopeful, wonderful stories of solidarity and just terrible stories of people doing the worst sorts of things imaginable. And I've got a lot of songs about both, and I talk a lot about why different things happen at different times, or some of the possible reasons, that could have explained why one thing would happen in one place that's so radically different from what happened in a different nearby place just a few years later. What are the factors here that cause these different realities to play out. So, yeah, hopefully other people think it's an interesting stuff to meditate upon. I'll do one of the songs that's a more hopeful kind of story. Story I think I first learned about from Ben Mansky, about the only time that in the state of Wisconsin that anyone tried to enforce the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. It didn't go well for the police. It went very well for the fugitive slave in the end. Gather round me, friends. I'll tell to you a tale about the day one young man was taken off to jail and shipped north up Lake Michigan for a trial to see if he should be sent back to live in slavery. A life of bondage was what Joshua had seen, but then he left Missouri, moved to Racine, where he worked in a sawmill by the lake shore in Wisconsin in 1854. When the word got around, outrage spread. The idea of sending people back to the bondage they had fled was one that could not be allowed to stand, although it was the law of the land. Passed by the Congress 4 years prior, guaranteed to start a prairie fire, which was what would be in store in Wisconsin in 1854. Thousands went to Haymarket Square, the most people who had ever gathered there. In Racine, where they decided they'd go see how that trial would go up in Milwaukee. When they got there and looked around, saw the thousands more people on the ground who had come on horseback, ready for war in Wisconsin in 1854. Jail turned out to be no match at all for all of the people who answered the call. They laid siege to the place till they'd gotten their man, and together the thousands they ran away from the cops, and then onward forth. The Underground Railroad brought him north, so Joshua Glover would be a slave nevermore in Wisconsin in 1854. No more attempts would ever be made since that Milwaukee prison raid to enforce this federal law after the rising that everyone saw. It was dead in the water, and that's a fact, the Fugitive Slave Act. When all the people said what they stood for in Wisconsin in 1854. Gather round me, friends, I'll tell to you a tale about the day one young man was taken off to jail and shipped north up Lake Michigan for a trial to see if he should be sent back to live in slavery. Some Topher asks if I have any tips on uploading political music, and I to YouTube in particular, and or just uploading it generally. My only tips about uploading music anywhere or recording music anywhere, I guess, would be make really good quality recordings that sound really good. And if you're putting up videos and you want them to get any views, then usually it has to involve a really good quality 3-camera shoot that's well edited. There are exceptions to this, like the 1-camera shoots that Jesse Wells keeps on getting hundreds of thousands of views with, but usually that doesn't work, and you need it needs to be a brilliant song that's really well recorded that also has 3 cameras on it, and then you'll get ignored mostly. But you at least in that case stand some possible chance of some people seeing or hearing the song. That's my advice. In a nutshell. I can give you more advice. Send me an email. I'll send you a book I wrote with lots of advice. She was looking for a place to have a baby. But with the hospitals destroyed, she headed south in a donkey cart to give birth to her little boy. She wasn't lying by a manger, no hay beneath her on the ground. She couldn't hear her newborn's cries, with the bombs exploding all around. There's baby Jesus lying in the rubble, a hungry little bag of skin and bones, with his mother Mary broken there beside him, in the place that they were calling a safe zone. Without a blanket, without a drop of water, nothing between them and the sky. The wise men from the east tried to come to see him, but they're trapped at the crossing in Sinai. There's no fuel for the water pumps, only for the drones always buzzing overhead, reminding every child there beneath them, the next moment it could be your mama dead. There's baby Jesus lying in the rubble, a hungry little bag of skin and bones, with his mother Mary broken there beside him, in the place that they were calling a safe zone. He's the Son of God, said the angel, as the babe began to shiver from the cold. There was a twinkle in his eye for a moment before the rigor mortis took hold. This prophet was born to save our species, this child who was the only son. All the tens of thousands killed so far, now we can add another one. There's baby Jesus lying in the rubble, a hungry little bag of skin and bones, with his mother Mary broken there beside him, in the place that they were calling a safe zone. In the place that they were calling a safe zone. In the place that they were calling a safe zone. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I'll do one more song and call it a broadcast. But once again, it's been a pleasure, and I'll do another song that is highlighted in my among the 170 or so songs that are included in the what will eventually be like a 15-hour series of podcasts. I guess 11 episodes up right now so far for paid subscribers, one for anybody, and the rest will be up eventually as we go. And again, if you want to check that out, it's at davidrovix.com/history. If you want to become a paid subscriber and check out the other 10 that are up, davidrovix.com/subscribe, or you can sign up on Patreon or Substack. I have a newsletter that I send out on Substack, and where you can hear about upcoming gigs and tours and stuff like that. And once again, in the spring, me and Kamala Emanuel, aka the Ministry of Culture, will be doing a tour which will include lots of gigs, hopefully in England and Scotland and Ireland, and also a visit to Mexico and hopefully also California, possibly Massachusetts. Depends on response from people out there. But definitely hoping to hear from lots of folks in England, Scotland, Ireland. Wales too, maybe? I talk in the history broadcast about various different periods of history that are characterized by certain sorts of activities. Some periods, including in the past 20 years that I was around for, personally. And the global justice movement 25 years ago being one of them. And that was also a period where there was a heck of a lot of protest around refugees and human rights and the whole question of who belongs where and why some people are considered to be refugees, and a whole lot of different relevant questions. In Australia, there was they used to put all the refugees basically in detention camps in the middle of the desert, but then it turned out that wasn't far enough away from the folks who wanted to free the refugees, and then they had to start putting them on islands where you have to pay $6,000 to get a visa to visit. This has happened in 2002. Things had been getting worse, and then even more, detaining anyone without a visa who came to shore. Put in prison camps, which they called reception centers, with families held indefinitely after they had entered. Protests were getting bigger all across the country, with the people chanting, "Free the refugees." They opened a facility in the middle of nowhere. Adelaide was 500 miles south of there, out of sight and out of mind, imprisoned with no phone. The government was hoping they'd be cut off there alone, till one day people came from all over the country, and you could hear them chanting, "Free the refugees." 1,000 people drove there from all over Australia, converged in the desert at the prison in Woomera. When they got to the center and gathered on the fence line, some of those inside the prison took it as a sure sign that this was the moment they would flee, as they could hear the people chanting, "Free the refugees." Be a long shot, but scores of them got out with the demonstrators to the parking lot from the middle of the desert. Despite the dragnet, a whole bunch of the imprisoned managed to get some semblance of freedom and a lasting memory, when they could hear the people chanting, "Free the refugees." government has new plans to safeguard the ports, to imprison human beings until they self-deport. If they don't come with the right papers, send them away. Who cares what any of the bleeding hearts say? Who cares why they fled their homes and came across the sea? Now listen to the people chanting, free the refugees, free the refugees, free the refugees, free the refugees. This is a random way to end, but if anybody has any technical knowledge about things like sending out text messages to lots of people at the same time, not WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram. I'm talking about regular text messages that anybody can receive without an app. If you know about that, I would love to hear from you. Twilio is a multi-billion-dollar company that is refusing to allow me to have access to the text mob that I was operating before, where I could send messages to several hundred people at the same time. And, pay for it and everything. But that is not, they're not letting me use it now. And they are always saying there's a new hoop to jump through. And every time I jump through the new hoop, there's another one. And they won't say who the organization is that they partner with, who approves new people. But I'm suspecting it's the FBI. I mean, literally, I have no idea, but it's been for months, and I, with the help of my very capable web designer, we put up terms and conditions and privacy policies and all this stuff, and nothing works. Whatever we do, nothing works. So if anybody knows any other ways to go about sending text messages without having to get Twilio to approve you in some process that has no end, that would be much appreciated. I'd love to hear about that. Yeah. And that's one of my other technical problems. Another technical problem I have is I can't make anything sound good on Zoom, but I'm so sick of Zoom that I just figured, well, that was more a blessing than a curse, and I just stopped trying to ever do anything on Zoom. But now that I think about it, I wonder if that's part of what's going on with being targeted, because like I worked with the great Ben Groskup for like an hour trying to figure out why I can't sound decent on Zoom, and Ben's an expert on this, having done so many things with Zoom with other people throughout the pandemic and since then, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people he's gotten to sound good on Zoom. But no matter what we did, nothing worked for me. So yeah, any technical experts out there who want to try to verify what the heck's going on with all this stuff I'm experiencing, I'd love to hear from you, especially if you don't work for the FBI and are not going to look to mess things up even further, which of course it's ridiculous making a public request like this for technical. Of course the FBI is going to be the only people who contact me, but oh well, maybe I'll meet an interesting FBI agent. Take care, everybody, and see you next time. Keep on keeping on. Don't hang yourself. And there is a brighter future ahead, I promise. I can't give you a date on that. I'm not predicting the Armageddon or the brighter future, but it's coming up. So keep listening to music, keep singing, go outside, turn off your computer after this is over, and go outside. Take a walk. If it's raining, bring a rain jacket and go outside and take a walk. And or just get wet. Don't get sick. What else here I can say? Probably something terribly profound, but I'll just skip it and keep on keeping on. Bye for now.